let's jump into this deep dive and unpack Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us.
Definitely.
It's not just a song. It's like Lamar is dropping truth bombs about how we use and abuse culture today in the 21st century.
Yeah, absolutely. This track goes way beyond just your typical diss track.
Right.
Lamar uses it to dissect power structures and expose those who, exploit entire communities for their own gain.
Okay, so let's break this down. Right off the bat, Lamar comes out swinging with this line. You run to Atlanta when you need a few dollars. No, you're not a colleague. You're a Fox colonizer. What's he getting at here?
Well, he's highlighting this idea of cultural appropriation. It's, the act of taking elements from a culture, often a marginalized one, without respecting their original meaning or significance. Think of it like wearing a Native American headdress as a fashion statement without understanding the history and traditions behind it.
So it's about profiting from a culture without truly understanding it or respecting.
Exactly. And that also ties into Lamar's critique of gatekeeping. The idea that certain individuals or groups control access to a particular culture or industry.
Right.
He's calling out, those who hold the keys to success, but only open the door for those who benefit them, not those who genuinely contribute to the culture.
And there's that recurring line, they not like us.
Yes.
Every time I hear it, it feels like this protective shield, almost like a warning,
Right.
What do you make of it?
It's definitely a statement about boundaries and identity.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar is drawing a line in the sand saying, you can't just come in here, take what you want, and leave.
Yeah.
He's demanding respect for the culture he represents and the struggles that come with it.
That leads us to his critique of people in positions of power, especially within the music industry. He doesn't hold back with lines like, the industry can hate me of them all, and they mama and certified lover boy, certified pedophiles. It feels pointed,
Yeah, he's calling out hypocrisy and demanding accountability. On the surface, it might seem that he's just taking shots at Drake, but it's deeper than that.
Right.
He's exposing the gap between these carefully crafted public images and the reality of their actions.
No.
It's like he's saying, don't let the fame and fortune fool you. These people are not who they pretend to be.
That's powerful. It seems to be a common theme throughout the song, this idea of unmasking people and challenging those who abuse their power.
It is.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, who else is out there hiding behind a carefully constructed facade? It's a question that extends beyond the music industry and into every corner of society.
Then there's this line that really gets me. Are you my friend? Are we locked in? It feels so raw, so vulnerable. What's Lumber getting at here?
Oof, yeah, that line hits close to home. I think he's grappling with the idea of performative allyship, where people claim to support a cause or community, but their actions don't match their words. It's about questioning those relationships where you wonder, are these people really with me, or are they just here for the show?
It's a question we all have to ask ourselves, right?
Yes.
Are we showing up authentically for the people and causes we care about, or are we just playing the part?
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most uncomfortable truths that Lamar forces us to confront. It's easy to talk the talk, but are we willing to walk the walk?
He also connects the historical struggles of Black people with modern-day issues, particularly in this lyric. Once upon a time, all of us was in chains. Homies still doubled down, calling us some slaves. What's he trying to convey here?
I think this is where Lamar connects the past to the present.
Okay.
Reminding us that while narratives may evolve, the systemic roots of oppression are deeply entrenched.
Yeah.
He's challenging us to recognize the difference between genuine progress and the co-opting of cultural movements for profit.
So it's like we can't just pat ourselves on the back for how far we've come, while ignoring the fact that many of the same systems of oppression are still in place.
Precisely. And this ties into Lamar's broader critique of those who exploit historical struggles for their own gain, whether it's in the music industry, politics, or any other sphere of influence.
So we've talked about cultural appropriation, gatekeeping, power dynamics, performative allyship, and the connection between historical and modern-day struggles. Anything else we need to unpack before we move on?
There's one more key element I think we need to touch on, and that's Lamar's use of humor.
Oh, yeah.
It's subtle at times, but it's definitely there. For instance, that other vaginal option line about Drake's OVO label,
Yeah. Oh,
brilliant.
come on. Let's be honest.
Uh,
That line was savagely funny.
it was.
But it's more than just a joke, right? There's
Right.
something more there.
Lamar blends humor and social commentary so skillfully.
Yeah.
It's a way to make his message more palatable, to draw people in with wit and wordplay before hitting them with the hard truths.
So he's making us laugh
Mm.
while simultaneously making us think.
Exactly.
Got it.
And that's a powerful combination. It's one of the things that makes him such an effective cultural commentator.
I think we've laid a solid foundation here. We've unpacked some of the key themes and lyrical complexities of Not Like Us. Are you ready to dive deeper into how these themes play out in the song?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
There's so much more to explore.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, we were just talking about how Lamar uses humor to, deliver his message.
And I think that's important because it makes these tough topics more accessible. He's not just lecturing us, he's making us think and feel.
Absolutely. It's like he's inviting us into a conversation, a really, thought-provoking one, instead of preaching from a soapbox.
Right. And speaking of conversations, one thing that really struck me was how Lamar calls out the music industry specifically. What do you make of that?
Well, the music industry, especially hip hop, has a long and complicated history with Black culture.
Yeah.
It's a space where Black artists have achieved incredible success, but it's also a space where their work has been exploited and commodified.
It's like this constant tension between celebrating and profiting from Black culture without always giving back or acknowledging the deeper struggles.
Right, it's like that line, "You run to Atlanta when you need a few dollars," suggests some folks are happy to dip their toes into Black culture when it's trendy or profitable, but they disappear when it's time to, show up and support the community in meaningful ways.
Yeah, and that lack of genuine investment, that ties back into cultural appropriation, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Like it's about taking without giving back, profiting without understanding.
Exactly. It's those situations where a brand or a celebrity adopts elements of Black culture, like fashion or music,
Yeah.
without acknowledging the history, the struggle, the creativity that went into it.
Yeah, it makes me think of how yoga has become this mainstream fitness trend, often stripped of its spiritual roots and cultural significance.
Mhm. Right. Or how, traditional foods from various cultures suddenly become trendy with little recognition of the communities that have been making them for generations.
So how do we, as listeners and consumers, become more aware of this? How do we avoid being part of the problem?
Well, I think it starts with curiosity and education.
Okay.
We need to ask questions about the origins of the things we consume, the cultures they represent, and the people behind them.
It's about being mindful, doing our research, and being willing to challenge our own assumptions.
Yes, and it's about listening to the voices of those from marginalized communities, amplifying their stories and supporting their work.
Lamar is doing that, isn't he?
Mm.
He's using his platform to speak truth to power, even when it's uncomfortable.
Oh, he's definitely not afraid to make people squirm, to hold up a mirror to society and say, look at yourselves, look at what you're doing.
Right, and he's not letting himself off the hook either. There's a vulnerability in his lyrics, an acknowledgement that he's on this journey of growth and self-reflection too.
I think that's what makes him so relatable. He's not claiming to be perfect. He's just trying to figure things out like the rest of us.
Yeah, and that's where the power of Not Like Us lies. It's not just a lecture. It's an invitation to a dialogue, a challenge to be more conscious, more accountable.
It's a reminder that we all have a role to play in, dismantling harmful systems and creating a more just and equitable world.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the complexities of cultural appropriation, gatekeeping, and the importance of genuine allyship.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to unpack these layers of meaning with you.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still one aspect of the song I want to touch on before we wrap up.
Okay, what's that?
Yeah, we've talked about a lot of heavy stuff.
Hmm.
But I kind of want to circle back to Lamar's role in all of this. He's been called like a reluctant prophet
Right.
and a cultural watchdog.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about those labels?
I think they fit. He's
Yeah.
not afraid to speak truth to power even when it's unpopular. He challenges the status quo and kind of forces us to confront these uncomfortable truths about ourselves and society.
Yeah, he's definitely not holding back any punches in Not Like Us.
Yeah.
Calling out hypocrisy, demanding accountability from those in positions of power.
And he's doing it in a way that's both thought-provoking and entertaining.
Yeah.
He's a master of language weaving these like complex ideas into these intricate rhymes that stick with you, long after the song is over.
It's not just the lyrics, though. It's the way he delivers them.
Right.
There's a rawness and vulnerability there that I think makes his message even more powerful.
Yeah, you're right. He's not like preaching from a pedestal,
Yeah.
He's acknowledging his own flaws and struggles, which makes him, I think, more relatable and his message more
It's
authentic.
like he's saying, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to figure things out,
Hmm.
and I want you to come along with me on this journey.
Exactly. And that's what makes Not Like Us so compelling. It's not just about pointing fingers or assigning blame.
Right.
It's about sparking a dialogue, encouraging self-reflection, inspiring action.
So it's a call to examine our own lives, our relationships, our beliefs, and ask ourselves some tough questions. Are we truly living up to the values we claim to hold? Are we part of the problem or part of the solution?
Those are questions we should all be grappling with, and I think Lamar is giving us the tools we need to start having those conversations,
Yeah.
both with ourselves and with others.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Not Like Us, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. What resonated with you most from this song? Where do you see these themes playing out in your own life? And what actions can you take to be more authentic, more accountable, and more active in creating a more just and equitable world?
Kendrick Lamar has given us a lot to think about. It's up to us to keep the conversation going and turn that reflection into action.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.